You, of course, are listening to the MHA podcast. Why in the world would you play Isaiah McKenzie over your third-round pick, T. Higgins? Why? I like any quarterback that can make Will Fuller look good.
I love it. I think he's a top 20 receiver.
I mean, he is the Jamar Chase whisperer.
Oh, hell yes. Oh, my God.
You know, everybody loves Lamar Jackson.
Hated it.
I trust Derek Carr.
Come on. For real?
I know why you did. It's because you're crazy.
It's still the week and the games aren't even over yet. It's great. It's fantastic.
Fantastic.
It's fantastic.
Patrick Mahomes. Looks so good. Kyle Pitts was bad. Stank.
It's not my shebang. Justin Jefferson.
So good.
We could call him Russell Wilson if you want.
Ooh. Well done, sir. That is good stuff. All of those guys have more fantasy points than Tom Brady. I'm laughing, but I'm crying at the same time. It's terrible. Good evening from the MHA podcast. Thanks for tuning in as we get into some wide receiver talk. There's plenty of them. So much to chat about that we're going to split it between two shows. So we'll talk about somewhere around the top 30, and then we'll talk about the rest of them on next week's show. And of course, the gentleman helping me out here this evening, Mikey Renault, Todd Diamond. Fellas, how are things going on this Wednesday evening for you?
Yeah. Talk some wide receivers, y'all. It's going to be great.
Todd's excited.
He always says, yeah, I'm excited.
Mikey,
he always
excited?
says, y'all.
I don't know. Like saying y'all. I don't know.
Y'all
Yeah,
ready?
I'm excited. This is like the first one
Find something.
that I think there's some pretty good depth here.
Well, that's good because you are not thrilled with the depth of running back position, and now here we are getting into the wide receivers, and so I'm excited to hear what you guys have to think about some of it. We have a script in front of us, but before we get into all of that fun wide receiver talk, let's get into some news.
I don't understand what the news is. It's just like, hey, here's a bunch of you can't fix that happened that was horrible.
And boy, we have some big news, and I'll ask you guys kind of how you feel about these recent signings. We were talking about it in last week's show, on the running back show, that there was a couple guys still waiting to be signed by teams, and we have two guys that ended up inking deals. So we'll first talk about Ezekiel Elliott, the former Dallas Cowboy, who is now a New England Patriot. All that Ramondre talk we had last week, and now Zeke into the fold. I'll ask Mikey first. I know you and I are pretty high on Ramondre. And then I don't know if you saw the tweet or the video about him walking onto the field. Zeke looks a little beefy.
Year by year, he's been getting a little bit beefier each time.
Yeah.
I don't know how much it cools my Ramondre talk. I will say this, like I had Ramondre pretty decently high. Like I think like right above Joe Mixon. I probably take him down a couple notches because I feel like there's a good chance that Zeke could get and snipe some of that goal line work. So as a fan of Ramondre, I'm not, all that happy about it.
I am definitely not either. One thing that Ramondre was not great at was at the goal line. He just had 5 rushing touchdowns. I don't have the percentage in front of me. I heard it on a podcast, and his percentage at the goal line was not great. So why not come in and pay him whatever it was, $6 million to pay Zeke $6 million to kind of jump over the line and into the end zone, because he has a great history of doing such things. Although I think he needs to lose some of the poundage if the video is correct. Who knows if things were doctored or whatever. But I also dropped him in my rankings just a couple of spots because I still believe in what he can do in between the 20s, and I love his athletic ability and to be able to catch passes. And so we'll just kind of see how it all kind of plays out. Todd, are you feeling excited about Zeke at all? Is he even on your running back radar? What are some of your thoughts about Zeke to the Patriots?
I'm a little excited about us because the situation kind of reminds me just a little bit of when the Patriots got Corey Dillon. Okay. Now, I'll explain why this parallel kind of works here. Okay, so Zeke obviously has done a little bit more than Corey Dillon, did before he got to the Patriots. I mean, Corey Dillon was decent running back, when he was with the Bengals. But I think what Zeke is, and yes, him putting a little poundage on, you might have to lay off the cheeseburgers for a little bit, but I think he can. I think he can get rid of that, in no time before the season. But I do like the fact that yes, the goal line situation definitely intrigues me a lot because obviously Zeke did a lot of that with the in Dallas. Now, granted, the offensive line, that's apples and oranges, but I just think a little resurgence for Zeke going to the Patriots. Yeah, the Patriots aren't what they were, in the Tom Brady era, but for Zeke, I could see him maybe getting double digit touchdowns. Um, if the Patriots are really trying to find that balance and trying to, get Mac Jones balanced out, I think you could see Zeke really being the focal point of that of the offense when it comes to in the running game. Excuse me, when it gets down to the goal line. So this intrigues me. This does intrigue me a little bit.
Are you intrigued by Zeke, Mikey?
Intrigued as a goal line guy? Sure. I mean, I'm not willing to jump and. Well, I'm not willing to like jump and say that he's like a top 25 type guy or anything, but I mean, like it's okay. Like I'm not super excited about it.
Yeah, I'm not sure how to feel about it at this moment. I mean, he's had 12 touchdowns last year and 231 attempts, 10 rushing touchdowns 2 years ago and 237 attempts. He's only 28 years old, but he's kind of an old 28 years old. He's got over 1,800 carries in his NFL career. And so I don't know really what to think about it. I mean, it definitely hurts the Ramondre side of things, but you almost kind of have to take Zeke maybe later as a fourth or fifth running back, perhaps as a guy that if he ends up getting 10 touchdowns, then he can be somewhat relevant. We'll have to kind of wait and see how kind of I'm sure he doesn't get to practice. I mean, he was out there today. I don't know if he was practicing or just kind of running around, but I guess we'll kind of follow him as he goes through this training camp. Another big signing was Dalvin Cook to the Jets. And Dalvin Cook, who obviously we've seen him have some amazing seasons. He could catch the ball, score touchdowns. He was athletic and break long plays for touchdowns. He comes in, kind of interferes with the Breece Hall love that a lot of us had. The second year guy now with the Jets. Dalvin's deal is 1 year, $8.6 million. So, Todd, do you drop Breece Hall based on this Dalvin Cook news? Do you feel Dalvin Cook's going to get maybe like a split situation with Breece? How are you seeing that whole thing kind of playing out?
Well, I think it depends on how you have to look at how they're going to use Dalvin Cook. Okay. Is knowing Breece Hall is a little bit bigger, back than Dalvin Cook is. And obviously Dalvin Cook in the passing game is huge. Obviously for Aaron Rodgers now being in New York now. I think you have to see, because obviously Dalvin Cook's not going to be ready quite the beginning of the season or we'll see. I mean, obviously right now he's not just because of the shoulder surgery, but it's going to depend on how they're going to use them. Are they going to treat Dalvin Cook, maybe like try to like close to a bell cow, or they're going to, like you said, maybe split it with Breece Hall. It really just kind of depends on, how they're going to split the carries and who's going to get the more receptions, who's going to get the more carries, who's going to be on the field more. Is because if you think is Bryce Hall going to be, are you going to take Bryce Hall off the field on third downs and put Dalvin Cook in there, or vice versa? So I just think we have to see how they're going to use Dalvin Cook. I think if we get I mean, obviously he's not going to be able to play in the preseason, but it's kind of a wait and see kind of thing because you don't know. Because if Breece Hall wasn't there and they were able to sign Dalvin Cook, then obviously you'd feel like, okay, Dalvin Cook's going to be the guy. But Breece Hall is there. It's kind of it's kind of a wait and see for me. It's kind of a wait and see for me how they're going to use him.
So let me ask you this, Todd, and I just want you to give me a quick answer.
Okay.
If it ends up being a split situation between Dalvin and Breece, who would you prefer having on your team?
Breece, just because Dalvin's injury history scares me a little bit.
That's fair. Mikey, what are your thoughts on this
Well, I
situation?
mean, Todd brings up a good point. You're not going to know, but you can't really play wait and see because, I mean, like you said, he's not going to play
Exactly,
in the preseason,
yeah.
so you're going to have to draft basically not knowing, and that's the hard part. So for me, it does drop Breece Hall. I had them pretty close in my rankings. For me, it's just going to be a gut feeling for if I had to guess, early on, Dalvin Cook would get more run because Breece Hall's coming off of an injury, and maybe a veteran like Rodgers would trust him more.
Right.
So I almost think I would lean Cook.
Yeah, that's a tough situation. I mean, it definitely drops Breece Hall for where I've had him for more stable situations. I think there could be some value in what this team is trying to do. We've seen split situations succeed before. We've seen the, Aaron Jones and AJ Dillon kind of situation kind of work out okay, and both were fantasy worthy. Maybe they didn't put up like major numbers, but they would put up decent numbers. Now that's with Aaron Rodgers at the helm. And guess what? Aaron Rodgers is at the helm of this situation. So if they're throwing the ball well and moving the ball well, maybe they both can succeed, but it definitely hurts their value in terms of that. We'll talk more about it as we see more from this and who's injured and who's getting play and so forth, because I think it really depends on Breece Hall, who's coming off that major surgery from last year. Is he all the way back? This is maybe a reason why they brought on Dalvin Cook. Continuing on with the news, we'll go through this fairly quickly since we spent a lot of time with Zeke and Cook. Kareem Hunt, still a free agent as far as the last thing I saw. Kendre Miller. So we were talking about Alvin Kamara last week. Kendre Miller, the rookie for the Saints, dealing with an injury, and so not on the field. Always hurts those rookies. Always important to get that time early in the preseason to get some reps. And now, unfortunately, he's going to have to kind of sit on the sideline, and we'll see more Jamal Williams. And then when Kamara comes back, and Kendre Miller was kind of hurt in college too, so now he's going to have to kind of sit around, and we'll have to wait and see. So I think he's going to drop quite a bit in drafts as we get closer to the season. Zach Ertz off the PUP list. Javonte Williams is supposed to play Saturday. We'll see. Tight end, Mike Gesicki. I know he's not the most exciting tight end, but tight ends are hard to come by sometimes. He suffered a dislocated shoulder. They say he should be ready by week 1. Wait and see on that. Some big news I think I saw today. Treylon Burks, not high on my list of wide receivers, but high on some. Second year wide receiver for the Titans. LCL sprain, could miss a few weeks, and I guess kind of what he dealt with last year was injuries as well. Cordero Patterson dealing with some soft tissue stuff, which is always really tough to deal with. I feel like you get one of those, it's almost like a hamstring. It's nagging, never really goes away. But if you're a BJ Robinson guy like Todd Diamond, Cordell Patterson on the sideline just means more work for the rookie for Atlanta. Miles Sanders being hampered by a groin injury. More injuries there for Sanders. Coach Frank Reich says he's getting better every day, but not on the field, getting reps with the squad, learning the system. And final thing I saw, Jordan Addison, the wide receiver for the Vikings, the rookie, not on the field these days, working through concussion protocol. That's not to say that to scare anybody off from Jordan Addison, but that's just something I saw, and you want those rookies out there, as I mentioned. Okay, wide receiver preview time. There's a lot of wide receivers. We had a lot of running backs, too, and we didn't get to everybody. We were talking about it after the podcast last week. Oh, we didn't talk about this guy. We didn't talk about this guy. So with wide receivers, I only kind of ranked them to about 40. You guys went a little further than me, and we'll talk about 30, and then we'll get into some more next week. But let's get into kind of how things finished last year from the wide receiver position as I'm stalling to get my screen up here. Okay. So, and look, I'm not even on the right year. Let's go back to 2022 here. I was looking at 2021 for whatever reason. So let's take a look at the wide receivers and how they finished last year. So, of course, Justin Jefferson leading the way, 269 points. Second, Tyreek Hill, 253, had close to 120 receptions, 1,700 yards, and 7 touchdowns. Finishing third, Devontae Adams, 252 points, 1 point behind Hill, 14 touchdowns, 100 receptions. Stephon Diggs finished fourth, 108 receptions with 11 touchdowns. Finishing fifth, CeeDee Lamb, 224 points, 107 receptions, 9 touchdowns. Sixth, AJ Brown loved his new home in Philly, 220 points, close to 1,500 yards and 88 receptions. The average depth of target, incredible for AJ Brown, 11 touchdowns. That was a career high. Amon-Ra St. Brown, 197 points, 106 receptions. Definitely better for the PPR format, which we do have here. Finishing behind Brown, Devonta Smith, having a couple of Eagles here, just 2 spots separated from one another. So Smith, 190 points, 95 receptions, 7 touchdowns. Jamar Chase missed some games last year, but put up some pretty incredible stats, 87 receptions, over 1,000 yards and 9 TDs. Jalen Waddle, 184 points, 75 receptions, 8 touchdowns. Tyler Lockett, how about this? Back in the top 12, 183 points, 84 receptions, 9 touchdowns, and finishing things off in terms of the top 12, Amari Cooper, 180 points, 78 receptions, and 9 touchdowns. So let's get into 2023. And you guys sent me your rankings. I have them all in front of me here. And no surprise, Justin Jefferson, number 1. I'll start things off with Mikey. There's other great receivers. You talk about the Cooper Kupps, who was on an incredible pace last year. Jamar Chase missed some games and still put up some amazing numbers. Stephon Diggs connected with Josh Allen, but still feel pretty comfortable that Justin Jefferson can repeat as the number 1 overall wide receiver, Mikey.
He should. I mean, just given the number of targets that he had and should continue to have. No Adam Thielen. They got a rookie coming out there, but in Jordan Addison. But let's be real, like, there is no reason why, as long as he stays healthy, that he should not lead the NFL in targets throughout this whole season. I mean, he's just an amazing receiver. So he, to me, I hate using the word clear cut, and so I'm not going to say it, but I didn't struggle, I guess I'll say, with that decision.
So you say you didn't struggle. You kind of answered my question for me, but by far and away the number 1 over your number 2 Cooper Kupp.
I hate saying far and away though, because like all of these guys like are better with. Yeah, I mean, all these guys like from 1 to like 6 are like the elite of the elite and are super good, and any of them could be the top guy. But I think opportunity wise, clear cut, yeah, I think so.
Has there ever been I guess just one thing, because obviously before we did this podcast, has there ever been a wide receiver since this league started that was like a clear cut every single year? That you could say like maybe Megatron? Would that be the only one?
Antonio Brown for a couple of years.
Yeah, I was gonna say Brown, but like I think like just like not even a hesitation. Like you probably think those 2 guys, Megatron and Antonio Brown. Is that a fair assessment?
Maybe.
Okay.
Just based on what he's done in his first 3 years is tremendous, and it's hard not to see the numbers he's piling up. You look at the other situation, I'm looking at 2021 stats, and Cooper Kupp obviously had one of the best seasons, if not the best season ever for a fantasy wide receiver, and had 332 points, where Jefferson last year led the way with 269. And Cooper Kupp was on a tremendous pace. I'm sure we'll talk about it before he got hurt, and could have battled Justin Jefferson. And then would we still be saying that now? I think just his situation, he's not injury prone. He brings back the same offense, the same coordinator. Dalvin Cook's gone, so you figure they're gonna have to pass even that much more.
Mm-hmm.
So I think in terms of if you're looking at the collective, it's hard. I mean, Cooper Kupp's kind of injured now. Jamar Chase missed some games last year. Stephon Diggs isn't happy. Tyreek Hill, Tua's injured, injury prone. So maybe Jefferson just has the least concerns, the least question marks. But I mean, he's obviously tremendous. And what he did last year was incredible, even when teams were trying to double team him.
Okay.
I mean, you kind of have to. I don't know. I don't know if I want to say he's just like Randy Moss and
Calvin Johnson,
Megatron, and so forth of those guys. I mean, he's got to be close to that conversation. But yeah, Justin Jefferson across the board for us. Number 1, number 2, not clear cut. So hopefully I don't say that too often. Todd, tell us who your number 2 is and why you like him over guys like Cooper Kupp or Stephon Diggs.
I think it's Jamar Chase.
That's your boy.
No, right? Hey, that'll go down in Mile High affiliate lore that I was right about Jamar Chase. Like, this guy is going to be special, and guess what? Special. Obviously the offense he's in, he's got a great quarterback throwing him the football. He is the main guy. Obviously, T. Higgins is there too as well. Tyler Boyd, but Jamar Chase. If there was going to be a player that that has like a good argument and a good chance to rival Justin Jefferson, it's Jamar Chase. Jamar Chase is that special. And he can go off too for 20, almost 30 points too, each week in fantasy. So Jamar Chase for me, is the number 2 behind Justin Jefferson.
Mikey, you don't have Jamar Chase as your number 2. You have Kupp. You have Chase a couple of spots down. Why Cooper at number 2 for you?
I just feel like if he's healthy, again, like he's got the opportunity. Like, you saw what was going on before he got hurt last year. So I understand there's risk there, and there's risk with his quarterback, with Stafford staying healthy too. But I love the targets, and I love the opportunity for Kupp to, kind of reach that potential with Chase. I like Chase, but I've still worried, and I have been for weeks, that Burrow's not going to be ready to start the season. And if Trevor Simeon's the one throwing him the ball, I just have to downgrade him a tick.
Just a tick.
But if Burrow's ready to go, do you move him up, or do you still leave Cooper at number 2?
For me, I leave Cooper at number 2.
Okay. Cooper Kupp, he only played in 9 games last year and still finished 21st in scoring. I know we mentioned that last year at the end of the season, but the numbers he was putting up before he got hurt he was kind of on pace to put up similar numbers to when he was the offensive player of the year in the NFL. So I get why. I think there's so many questions in terms of quarterback play. Supposedly he's all the way back and healthy, but he's up there in years, and the offensive line is awful. And can this offense even score enough for it to matter? But there was those question marks kind of last year before it all kind of came crashing down, and then he got hurt, and Kupp doesn't have much in terms of competition unless you believe in Van Jefferson or Ben Skoranek, which I don't think any of us do. But there's just so much volume for Kupp that, I have him as 5th overall, just because of injuries and what that offense is going to look like. We don't know. So I have Chase 2nd as well. For him to miss, he missed 7 games last year, but still had 134 targets. The big thing we were concerned about Chase going into last year was, is Higgins going to steal targets? Is he going to go in and take targets and touchdowns away? Can he get enough targets? And that's why I had Jefferson over Chase last year. But he kind of separated himself this year from Higgins. And for him to be able to be Burrow's number one, when Burrow's out there and healthy, Chase has the ability to kind of loft himself to somewhere in the middle of 180, 190 targets. And that's what you want as a number one wide receiver. Mikey, I'm interested in your thoughts on Tyreek Hill, a guy who had 170 targets last year. Tua is his quarterback, and when he's out there, he finds Jalen Waddle, who's also kind of in the mix as well. Do you like Tyreek Hill? I mean, it's hard to say you don't at number 5, but is there anything that concerns you for a guy who's 29 years old but finished second in our league in points 1 year ago?
No, not really. I mean, because even when they had the crap show of quarterbacks when Tua got hurt, like that part hurt Jalen Waddle, but it didn't seem to hurt Tyreek Hill.
Yeah.
I mean, they find ways, like no matter who's playing quarterback, to get him the ball, like on these little short bubble screens. They throw it to him behind the line of scrimmage to give him room and to make plays on his own. I mean, he's a great receiver. He's going to get his volume. I don't have any concerns with Tyreek.
Yeah, even despite kind of the murky quarterback play, the Dolphins finished 11th in total scoring and 6th in total yards. So, you see a number one wide receiver and you're like, oh no, only 7 touchdowns. I mean, Todd has him 9th, so maybe that's why. But we've talked about it many times. Touchdowns are fluky. Sometimes you're just unlucky. And so if Tua gets anything better or even stays on the field for a majority of the season, those 7 touchdowns could reach double digits with no problem. Before we move on to my next question, Todd, just give me some quick thoughts on Stephon Diggs. We all have him ranked 3rd. We obviously know the situation with him and Allen. Feel pretty good about it. Have to see another good season from Diggs in terms of fantasy at 29 years old.
Oh yeah, he's going to play angry this year. That's for sure. He's going to go out there because the Bills in general have they're one of the favorites to win the Super Bowl, and Josh Allen knows Stephon Diggs is his best asset on that team. He's going to throw him the ball any way possible to get him the football, and he's going to put up some big numbers. So Stephon Diggs for me, that's number 3. I mean, if anything, I wouldn't put him over Chase, but number 3 is pretty close.
I like how Todd's like a psychologist on this show now, or psychiatrist, because he's always like, they're going to play mean. They're going to play with a chip on their shoulder. They're going to be angry when they get out there. Like, he just has the knowing, the kind of the feelings and the emotions of these players, and that's how they're going to succeed, is based on these emotions. Is anybody out there like, they're going to play happy and things are going to be great? Who plays happy? Who's always in a good mood in terms of wide receivers?
Justin Jefferson.
Terry McLaurin. Yeah, Justin Jefferson's probably not a bad one either. No chip on his shoulder. Everything's hunky-dory. All good Justin Jefferson.
I mean, I mean, maybe Garrett Wilson, because he's happy. He's got Aaron Rodgers.
We'll get to Garrett Wilson. Believe me, we're gonna get to Garrett Wilson.
Yes.
Yes, we will get to that. First, though, let's talk about Devontae Adams. I'll start with Mikey on this. Last year, finished 3rd in points. He's going a little later this year. It's almost a similar situation. I mean, obviously, he's with the same team, but a different quarterback. My concern of last year was he's going from Aaron Rodgers to Derek Carr, and now I feel like he even goes to a lesser quarterback in Jimmy Garoppolo. How are we feeling about Devontae Adams? It looks like Todd has him the highest at 4, Mike and I at 6. I mean, he's such a great talent, but are we foolish for not keeping him in the top 3 compared to where he even finished last year with his new team in the Raiders?
I think it is a downgrade at quarterback. That's why I ranked him lower. Like, Jimmy G doesn't really have an arm on him, and so like deep opportunities for me may be taken away because Jimmy G can't throw the ball, 50 yards down the field to him. So, yeah, I think he loses some of the big play aspect of it. He's always been dynamite in the red zone, so I don't know that he necessarily drops any of that. That's why I still have him ranked at 6. But yeah, quarterback matters, and I Jimmy G doesn't stay healthy either, and they have like Brian Hoyer behind him, so there's some question marks with that situation with the Raiders and with Adams.
Yeah, I think when you're drafting in the first or second round, you don't want to screw up, right? And so you try to minimize any damage that could take place with your squad. Todd, you feel confident at number 4, so you have him over guys like CeeDee Lamb or AJ Brown or Amon-Ra St. Brown, even Tyreek Hill, Cooper Kupp. So you're not deterred with Jimmy Garoppolo or whoever the quarterback is, Brian Hoyer, Aiden O'Connell, as his quarterback, and he's able to put up another 1,500 yards and 100 receptions and double-digit touchdowns.
Yes, because I really do believe that Adams is. Again, I know I said that going from Rodgers to Derek Carr now to Jimmy Garoppolo. I think it's like it just keeps going down. But Adams I think, is that good where I said it last year, and I'll keep saying it until he really does fall off the wagon. Adams is just quarterback proof because he is so talented. He had 14 touchdowns last year. They have him projected only 7. Yeah, he'll at least get double digits. And to Mikey's point, the big plays, yes, is that a little bit of a concern? Yes, but hey, if they just have to do some short passes, some slants down the field for him to get the touchdown, you're not going to hear a complaint out of me. So I still believe Adams is still kind of quarterback proof because he is that good. Because just a few years ago, or kind of still, maybe was considered the best wide receiver in football because he was that good. Now, granted, it helped he was attached to Aaron Rodgers. I mean, would we be saying that about just example Metcalf or Debo Samuel or Keenan Allen or whatever the case may be? I just think he's still quarterback proof. And in the second round, he came back. I mean, obviously, I don't think he's going to get to me on the turnaround anyway. I don't think he's going to last that long because somebody will. I mean, G is Raiders fan, so he'll probably take him. But if he happened to get all the way to me at the on the turnaround all the way toward the end of the second round, I'd have to think about it. I'd really have to think about it because I'd have to think about because knowing right there, I'd probably take a running back because depending on what I do there, I'd have to.
Oh my!
I'd have to be like, you know what, Adams is there. I know who his quarterback is, but you know what, got to take him. So there you go.
He's like, no, I'm still gonna take Aaron Jones.
I just love how he builds it up. If he gets through and makes it all the way down to me, or if he gets past G, I'd have to think about taking him. That's so funny. And Todd, you're hysterical. Let's go on to the next one to kind of round out kind of around the top 10 here. I told you guys to rank these next kind of 3 wide receivers around after Adams, but like CeeDee Lamb's going kind of around 6 to 10. You talk about Amon-Ra St. Brown, AJ Brown. Todd, I'll let you go first. You can talk about any of those 3. Just looking at how you have them ranked, you have AJ Brown 6, CeeDee Lamb 7, Amon-Ra St. Brown 8th. And so who do you want to talk about that bunch?
I'll talk about AJ Brown. Obviously, going to Philadelphia and Jalen Hurts definitely showed, really showed he's a top tier quarterback, and AJ Brown was a big part of that. It was a big part of that reason why he did so well. And AJ Brown's just a physical wide receiver, and obviously 11 touchdowns last year. Again, they have him again projected single digits. I mean, granted, Hurts will may take some touchdowns away from him, but I see AJ Brown with at least double digits. I don't know. These analysts on ESPN must be smoking crack or something. Like, why would you get like? Well, he had 11. Like he had 11 last year. You only have him getting 7. I don't know about that. He gets double digits at least. He's that good. And the way that offense is, they're I don't know. They must be on something. I don't know what, but something.
Let's keep it PG. No more crack talk.
Okay.
It's funny. Mikey, I don't know if you want to mention about AJ Brown or if you want to talk about either CeeDee Lamb or Amon-Ra St. Brown. Who kind of intrigues you this year?
I'll talk about CeeDee Lamb. One of the things
Sure.
that I like to look for with wide receivers is like progression year to year. That's kind of what CeeDee Lamb has done. Like every single year in the league, he's gotten better and better and better. And you're waiting for him to kind of take that step into being the elite receiver. You started to see that towards the end of the year last year, where it really started picking up and started putting up to big time numbers that could put him in that same conversation with the Diggs and the Hills and the Jamar Chases and that group of receivers.
Yeah, agreed. 120 targets 2 years ago, up to 156 this year. Played in 17 games, and I mean, I know you're kind of a Brandon Cooks guy, and Michael Gallup's back, so I don't know if that hurts the target share, but it'll be interesting to see how he kind of, if he does take that next step, because I mean, yeah, he had a couple of double digit or like 2 multiple touchdown games last year, and dude's a stud. He's fun to watch. And I'll kind of finish things off with Amon-Ra St. Brown. Now, he was one that was kind of difficult for me. So I had it CeeDee Lamb, AJ Brown, Amon-Ra St. Brown, because he's such a good PPR guy, and we're a full PPR league. And he doesn't have the exciting quarterback as the other 2 guys in terms of Jared Goff, but Goff had a pretty solid season. Can he do it again? For Amon-Ra St. Brown, who had 90 receptions 2 years ago and now up to 106. The touchdowns were low in terms of receiving touchdowns, but with Jamal Williams kind of out of the picture, maybe they throw it a little more. I mean, he's 6 foot, so he's not the tallest guy, but he's also not 5'10", so there's a chance for him to be productive in that red zone as well. They do bring in Jahmyr Gibbs, who's going to take some of those catches away from him, but I think it just depends on how we feel this Lions offense is going to be, if it's going to be successful, if it's going to be consistent. And that's why I kind of put him third. I feel like the other offenses and the Cowboys and Eagles have a better opportunity to score more touchdowns. So if I'm going to play nitpick here, I'm going to pick the guys with the better quarterbacks and the better offense. But 146 targets and 119 in his first 2 years is pretty impressive as well. Let's go into some guys that are second-year wide receivers. So we'll talk about Garrett Wilson or Chris Olave or Christian Watson. But let's start things off with some Garrett Wilson. Now, just looking over our rankings, they're slightly different than one another. You look over at Mikey and where he's got Garrett Wilson, he's got him 11th, so just outside the top 10. I'm sorry, no, that's me. I have him just outside the top 10. Mikey has Garrett Wilson 15th, and Todd Diamond. You want to tell us where you have Garrett Wilson?
Ladies and gentlemen, I have him number 5, and I'll tell you why.
Watching too much Hard Knocks.
Explain yourself.
You know who his quarterback is, who he's attached to. This guy named Aaron Rodgers, who, for as many years as he was, was in Green Bay, wanted out, and because the Packers didn't want to really get him any help except for outside of Devontae Adams, and Garrett Wilson, rookie of the year last year. And I told you he was going to be special. Now, am I doing a proclamation that he's going to be like what Jamar Chase is going to be? Me, good, he could, but I'm not going that far yet. But it does help because if it was still Zach Wilson throwing him the football, Garrett Wilson wouldn't even. He'd probably be in maybe top 20. I'd have him that low. But Aaron Rodgers is throwing him the football. Garrett Wilson is a young wide receiver, talented wide receiver, explosive in every way, shape, or form, and last year he had 4 touchdowns last year. They have him as 9. Aaron Rodgers is gonna get him the football. Like Aaron Rodgers sees like, oh, finally a young wide receiver, somebody who's explosive in every way, shape, or the form. They have him as 9. They have him 9. Yeah. Garrett Wilson's about to have like 13 touchdowns. You can mark that down.
Wow. Mikey, do you want to rebuttal it, or should I go for it?
Oh man.
I
Look, is there a world where Garrett Wilson could finish 5th? Yes, there is. But like I look at it and it to me, I can't sort it out in my head. Like to me, it's just false. Like you're talking about going from, yes, he was offensive rookie of the year and he had a good season. I'm not saying that he didn't, but the elevation, like it doesn't match up. Like you didn't have Aaron Rodgers super high ranked in your rankings, and all of a sudden, yeah, okay, he gets Aaron Rodgers. He goes from finishing in the 20s to being up there with Stephon Diggs and Devontae Adams. I think there is a positive. He'll be better, but I mean, you're jumping him what I think is 2 years ahead instead of just 1 year.
Well, and maybe this is comparing apples to oranges here, but DT, may rest in peace. When he got Peyton Manning, did Demaryius Thomas did everything just skyrocket? I'm just saying.
I am so glad you brought that up. I was praying that you brought that up because
here we go.
The two situations are not even on the same level. Like you think this is Peyton Manning circa 2012, where all of a sudden Aaron Rodgers is going to be like one of the greatest offenses of all time and throw, 50 touchdowns. You think that's what this is? Because I don't. I don't know anybody else does unless their name is Mike Greenberg.
But I'm just saying, yeah, Mike Greenberg. Yeah, that's always funny as hell. But what I'm just here's what I'm just saying, Mikey, is okay. Maybe not the 50 touchdowns, but it would just at least elevate his game a little bit more. And okay, maybe I agree with you a little bit. Yes, maybe I have projected maybe instead of just just the 1 year. And I am projecting maybe what he's going to look like in 2 years. But Aaron Rodgers, everybody steps up their game when, Aaron Rodgers, whether it's Aaron Rodgers, Tom Brady, Peyton Manning, whatever, all these Hall of Fame quarterbacks, your game just steps up. You step it up a little bit more, and you want to really, you really want to prove like, all right, I can be this great wide receiver because I have a Hall of Fame quarterback throwing me the football, and 13 touchdowns isn't out of the realm of possibilities. And to your point, yes, you said there is a world that this could happen, but I know we live in reality, and even though this is fantasy, but at the end of the day, I think Garrett Wilson can get there. I think he can. I think there's no doubt about that.
He can.
And I think he can do it in year. I think he can do that in year 1 of Aaron Rodgers.
You're not going to be in this position, so I feel okay asking the question. Like realistically, if you just on the draft board, if you had Tyreek Hill there and Garrett Wilson there, you're taking Garrett Wilson for real.
Yes, I'm taking Garrett Wilson because I don't know what the situation is going to be. Unless, even if I knew Tua was going
to. Mikey is ready to board bet it. We can board bet it.
Okay. If I knew Tua, even if I knew Tua was going to be fully healthy, ready to go, no restrictions, they weren't going to, with the concussions situation, I'd still take Garrett Wilson. So we can board bet it. We can board bet this.
Are we board betting who's going to have more points, Garrett Wilson or Tyreek Hill, or is it about where Wilson's going to finish? What's the board bet?
Yeah,
Ooh, that's a good question.
whatever you want to bet.
Okay.
I'm down for more points. That's fine.
Yeah, let's do that one. If Garrett Wilson's gonna have more, well, depending if I want to do where Garrett Wilson's going. If Garrett Wilson's going to finish in the top 5, where I have them.
Whatever you want to do, my man. It's up to you.
Okay. All right. Let's do Garrett Wilson finishes in the top 5.
So you say yes,
Mm-hmm.
Mikey. It's a little
fine
different
with me.
story than Tyreek Hill, but
All I want to say is there was one wide receiver that had more than 13 touchdowns last year, and it doesn't even matter who it is. There was just one, so
just one.
it's a hard number.
Yeah,
So
about
are you
Devontae
saying
Adams
no?
if
He doesn't finish in the top 5.
Yeah, I'm saying no, he doesn't.
Okay, I'm gonna join Mikey on that one. The only thing I'll say about it, because we've talked way too much about it, we have to go on to the next guy, is Aaron Rodgers threw for 26 touchdowns and 12 picks last year. Didn't have a single 300-yard game. I know it's a new situation, but I don't know if he's Aaron Rodgers of old. So we talked about Garrett Wilson. Mikey, do you want to talk about Chris Olave or Christian Watson?
Yeah, I'll talk about Olave. The Saints have Derek Carr coming in there. Olave, I mean, to be honest, there wasn't a whole lot of difference between Olave and Garrett Wilson, Todd. So yeah, he's going into his second year. I think he'll be better this year, and he's also has a better quarterback playing in that dome. So yeah, I see some progression. I didn't go wild with my rankings on Olave, but I believe that I do have him as a top. Well, I have him 21. So yeah. I mean, he'll be right up there. He's a really, really good player. I think he'll get better.
And I'll briefly go over Christian Watson. I had him ranked 23rd. So a little lower than Todd, but a little higher than Mikey. But he's a tough one, right? We haven't seen what the Jordan Love show is about. He scored a lot of points in a very small window last year. He had 7 touchdowns between weeks 10 and weeks 13. But the man has uncanny ability in terms of being able to speed up the field. He's long. He's got this big catch radius. He can break a slant into a long play. I saw something on social media today where Love and Watson connected for a 70-yard touchdown catch. And yeah, it's preseason, I think it was even just a practice. It wasn't even a preseason game. But it's just a matter of how accurate can Jordan Love be. So, I mean, I don't have him ranked super high, but I have him over guys like Terry McLaurin, DeAndre Hopkins, just because we don't know what his potential can be. He's only in his second year, and he really didn't break out until about halfway through the season. Didn't get a lot of play early on. He's a rookie trying to figure things out. I feel like I know what Terry McLaurin is, so I'm going to go with the guy that has a little bit of a higher ceiling. So that's my thoughts on Christian Watson, again, ranked 23rd. I don't know if you guys want to say anything about those guys, or I can just move on.
I think we could move on.
All right, let's talk about some number 2 wide receivers. Some interesting guys on here, and I'll start with Mikey. Guys we want to talk about: Tyler Lockett, number 2 behind DK Metcalf, T. Higgins, number 2 behind Jamar Chase, Jalen Waddle behind Tyreek Hill, Devonta Smith behind A.J. Brown. Out of those guys, who do you like the most, Miguel?
I feel like you just picked all the guys that were on my team last year.
Yeah. yeah. All right. Sure. Tyler Lockett, that's your boy.
Lockett, Higgins, and Waddle. All 3 of them. This was tough. I mean, Lockett, I feel like, is just going to be consistent. Like, I have him pretty similar to what he always does. So it was between Higgins and Waddle for me. Slight edge to Higgins. I man, it's so tough. Like it's almost a dead even draw between the two. They're a little bit different, and like Waddle has a more propensity to make big plays, but I think I just being PPR. I mean, I felt like Higgins was a little more consistent. Not much, but just a little more.
Yeah, it seems like Higgins got maybe a little more like, I don't want to say big play because Waddle can break anything is off, but he's just more down the field, catch a long pass. Has another season under his belt, and he's been averaging about 70 receptions, 1,000 yards, 6 touchdowns, and Waddle broke out for 8 last year. So yeah, I could see it. They're almost, I mean, they're different looking wide receivers. One's smaller and quicker. One's got a bigger catch radius than the other, but put up kind of similar stats. Todd, out of those three, who do you want to talk about? Anybody that stand out?
Devonta Smith. I think he's definitely going to benefit from it, benefited from AJ Brown being on the other side of him, and like I said, I just think, I mean, he's the more explosive down the field threat. Devonta Smith is compared to AJ Brown. I'm not saying AJ Brown isn't explosive down the field, but Devonta Smith is definitely somebody that I'm interested if he's around the, I don't know, 6th or 7th round. If he lasts that long,
come on now,
What?
come on, do your homework. If you have him ranked 14th, he's not going in the 5th round.
Hey, our draft is the most unpredictable draft. I mean, granted, I don't see other drafts, but you never know. Our drafts are very unpredictable.
See, it's not about not knowing, Todd. It's about the numbers.
I know.
It's about where the number 15 wide receiver goes in a normal draft. If I had to guess, it's like in the late 2nd, mid 3rd. I don't know if I'm guessing that right. I'm trying to bring up last year's draft, but it's, of course, it's taking its sweet time.
I figured like mid to late 3rd, early 4th.
So
depending on where people rank.
Sure. And I think, and who knows, this could be as we get closer to draft, but a lot of wide receivers are going earlier because they're a little safer. So I'm just going to go through this and count the wide receivers from last year's draft. You have Cooper Kupp 1, and let's see, a lot of running backs here. Jefferson 2, Adams 3, Jamar Chase 4, Tyreek Hill 5, Stephon Diggs 6, Deebo Samuel 7, CeeDee Lamb 8, Mike Evans 9, Keenan Allen 10, T. Higgins 11, Michael Pittman 12, AJ Brown 13, DJ Moore in the 4th round 14, and then Mike Williams. So yeah, in the middle of the 4th round. So more than likely he's going to go in that 4th round compared to the 6th round. I understand what you're trying to say, but if you have him ranked 15th or you have him 14th, that's where he's going to kind of go. I'll kind of quickly mention, we didn't talk about Tyler Lockett. Man, this guy just does it every year. In 2019, he finished 12th. In 2020, he finished 6th. 2021, finished 17th. Last year, finished 11th. Just does it year in and year out. He's not going to put up a whopping target number, but when you're talking about number 2s and where he's going, 117 targets is great. I mean, his touchdowns, we mentioned fluky. DK Metcalf didn't have the big touchdown number as Tyler Lockett did because Lockett actually finished higher than DK Metcalf in terms of points, but that's because he got lucky on the touchdown. It could flip the other direction, and he is 31 years old, and they do bring in a number 1 pick, but he just does it. You can bank on like 80 receptions, 1,000 yards, and, anywhere from 7 to 9 touchdowns. He has 27 touchdowns the last 3 years. So he's someone that last year I was like, I don't want to touch Tyler Lockett. And then I just don't know why I keep forgetting about him. I know he's older, and so he's not super sexy, and you're always going for those rookie guys, but he's just someone that you got to keep an eye on.
It's okay, Eric, because everybody kind
Uh-oh.
of did that to him, and that's why I was
Yeah.
able to nab him in the 8th round, I think.
Yeah, for sure. So we're coming up against, we're about 53 minutes in. We got a couple of more guys we want to talk about. Let's talk about Calvin Ridley. Kind of interesting. A guy who hasn't really played football in 2 years, dealt with some mental health issues. And then obviously with the gambling that that postponed his entire year last year. Mikey, tell us where you have Calvin Ridley ranked and how are you feeling about him going into this season?
Got him ranked 18th. Um, for me, like I didn't want to put him like way too high, but there's still upside there,
Yes.
and I think with him, like this is almost a risk reward type thing. Like if he comes back paired with Trevor Lawrence and is the same Ridley as he was before, like he honestly could be like a top 10 guy. Now there's a downside to where he can also, coming off 2 years, be rusty, not be the same guy. He could be like, you know, 25 to 35 type guy. So that's why I kind of threw him in the middle. And, I think 18th is good for him. Like he's a lottery ticket of sorts for me.
I agree. He's looking good in training camp. You'll see those tweets from time to time. He's out there. He's running fluid. Uh, I think the thing that deters me, and I have him ranked 20th, so a little higher than you, but the thing that can deter me or anybody is, can mental health issues come back? Can they affect you once again? Is anybody 100% cured, if there is such thing for mental health? I don't know. I'm not an expert. I'm not a psychiatrist, so um, I
Come
think
on,
you're right. He's a guy that, like, I have him over Tyler Lockett because the upside's better. If we believe in Trevor Lawrence and what they're doing with that offense, Atlanta was 9th in the NFL in pass attempts last year. They were 12th in terms of passing yards. Then he can put up solid numbers. I mean, you have him ranked over Christian Kirk, who put up really good numbers with Trevor Lawrence. So I think if Trevor Lawrence he steps up his game another year, another year in the system and in the NFL, then his numbers could just shoot up. Todd, however, not in love with Calvin Ridley at all, having him ranked 39th.
Not worth the gamble,
Yeah.
huh, Todd?
Oh, very good. Because the thing is, the reason I have him ranked so low is that
Sorry,
he
that was really late. Sorry.
it's because he burned you, Todd. He burned you. That's why.
Yep.
Tell the truth.
you can't handle truth. No. The reason I have him ranked so low is the fact he was sitting out not because of injury, because of gambling. Obviously all the mental health issues he has, and again, all that stuff's horrible. And hopefully, I mean, not with the gambling part. I got no sympathy on that one. But the mental health thing, he figured his stuff out on that. But that's a gamble. That's a gamble. I'm just not willing to take that early. I mean, Mike, you have him ranked 18th. Eric, where do you have him ranked?
20th.
20th. Okay, so
I'm lower. I think I said I was higher than Mikey. I'm actually lower. My mistake.
Yeah, no, you're fine. So so lower. So at the end of the day, I would rather. I'd rather pick like a rookie wide receiver over Calvin Ridley, even though Calvin Ridley obviously has been in the league, and is has shown that he can put up big numbers and put up big fantasy numbers, but this is kind of a wait and see thing for me. I mean, if he lasts,
There is no wait and see for you.
I know, there's of course, I know.
Unless you see something in a preseason game, there's no way he's following you at 39.
Yeah, no, there's not. No, and somebody's going to obviously take him way before that. But I'm not taking him I'm not taking him early either. I'm not gonna, as I do sometimes in drafts, whether it's baseball and sometimes in football, I panic a little bit and reach for a player, but I'm not reaching for Calvin Ridley.
That's for sure. Last question here. PPR wide receivers, Keenan Allen, Chris Godwin, and Deontay Johnson. Todd, who's your favorite amongst those three?
Oh, well, this one's kind of an interesting answer here. You're like, oh joy. Keenan Allen, you think, well, Justin Herbert, that should be a no-brainer. But the problem is Keenan Allen gets hurt a lot.
And
burned you
last
again.
year.
He burned you again.
Burn unit.
Yep, I'll burn you. Now, Chris Godwin, okay, Tom Brady's not throwing the football anymore. So there's always a concern there. Is it going to be Baker? Is it going to be Trask? You don't know. Deontay Johnson, it's very interesting. I mean, obviously Pickett definitely showed something last year. Obviously he's going to be the starter, but Pickett kind of has a relationship with George Pickens a little bit more. So I don't know if that Deontay Johnson, if he's going to, some of those targets and catches are going to go more to Pickens a little bit more. So really, if I had to choose one of these wide receivers, probably Godwin.
Hey, good job. You picked the guy
Lines up with
highest
your
in
ranking.
Yeah. Well done.
Thank you.
Yeah, I asked Todd, what is your favorite? He goes through all of them. Mike, you have Keenan Allen ranked pretty high at 13. I have him at 16. Todd hates Keenan Allen at 27. You feel Keenan Allen, if healthy, I don't know if you consider him the number one guy with the Chargers. I feel like there's a bounce back coming for Herbert in that offense.
Yeah, and like I don't care if they burn Todd or not. That doesn't bother me.
That doesn't affect you.
No sweat off my back.
It helps you more than anything, right? Because then those guys fall to you as he decides to go a different direction. And, Garrett Wilson with a 5th overall wide receiver.
Yeah, it's funny. Like Keenan Allen's one of those guys I've always liked but never had. It just never like been the right time and the right spot for me to draft him. But like he's consistent, even after he
injured.
Oh, come on. He has not been injured that much. He got injured the 2 times that you had him. One with the major ACL and then, whatever. I don't know if you had him last year.
Well, and all of them non-contact injuries. Thank you very much.
Now I have to deep it. Way to go. Thank you for that.
Now, I mean, you see there's a clear bias when it comes to Todd and Keenan Allen. I don't have that. Like, yeah, I do believe there's a bounce back for the Chargers offense. I do believe he's the number one over Mike Williams and Quentin Johnson or Calvin Johnson or whatever you want to call him. So, yeah, big fan of Keenan Allen.
Yeah, I feel great about Keenan Allen too. I think the other guy we'll talk about is Deontay Johnson, who has the most catches by someone who didn't score a touchdown. And again, touchdowns are unlucky, lucky, whatever, however you want to say it. I think he can shoot up the boards pretty quickly. If he gets 5 to 6 touchdowns, I think he's still the number one guy. I think he's the most talented guy. As much as I like George Pickens as well, but I think Deontay Johnson's still the number one guy. For PPR purposes, he's huge. So we're over an hour now. I don't know if you guys want to talk about anybody specific in terms of just like rankings. I mean, we didn't get a chance to talk about DJ Moore. Mikey, 35th.
That's the one I want to talk about.
All right, well, we'll do it. Mikey has him ranked 35th. I have him 26th. I think Todd has him 15th. If I did that correctly, that is correct.
That's just ludicrous.
DJ Moore, Todd. I guess you kind of talked about it last week.
Yeah, I mean, I said I believe I believe in Justin Fields and and DJ Moore goes to a situation now with maybe a slightly better quarterback, and maybe a quarterback that everybody's high on. Granted, I had him ranked 6th in our quarterback rankings, and you all thought I was high. But I think DJ Moore, this could be a breakout. This could be a breakout, maybe year for him and really kind of elevate his status there a little bit. And I mean, I have him 15th, and that's just lowering lowering the expectations and seeing if they can just go higher. So can let all the DJ Moore hate come. Hate. No hate here.
Mike, you want to say anything, or should we go into the next wide receiver? I have one more I want to talk about.
Oh, man. I was so happy when DJ Moore scored that touchdown like on his first play of the preseason. It was like 60 yards. I was like, good.
Yeah.
Good.
Let him shoot up the rankings and get everybody's attention, right? The last guy I want to talk about is DeAndre Hopkins. I had him 25th. I'm the lowest on him. Todd 20th. Mikey at 16. You feel Hopkins can have I don't know if a bounce back. He was kind of injured, but was successful when he was out there in Arizona. How are you feeling about him now?
I like Hopkins. I always like Hopkins. He's another consistent guy, just like Keenan Allen. My one concern and the reason he's lower.
One?
Yeah. And it's a big one.
Okay.
It's a big one. If they lose Tannehill and have to go down to the next quarterback in that offense, I would rather have it be Will Levis, but that's besides the point. It completely cripples their offense. So there is extreme risk to drafting Hopkins, but like if Tannehill's there, I like him.
Yeah, I mean that's a big concern. The offense doesn't pass very much. The last time they had 1,000-yard receiver was AJ Brown. That was a few years ago. I mean, that was with Tannehill, so that's in there. Traylon Burks goes down with an injury right now. Who knows how long he's going to be out. They just run the ball. 28th in yards and total yards last year and 29 in total attempts. And it goes through Derrick Henry first, and then it's pass second. I mean, you could say Derrick Henry first, defense second, and then passing the ball. So there's he's obviously super talented. I'm not taking anything away for what he did in 9 games last year is pretty impressive, but he's also 31 years old. I don't even know if Tannehill, even when he's out there, still has the juice to make his fantasy season worthy, but DeAndre Hopkins has been doing it for a long time. Well, gentlemen, we're way over time here. So Todd, what's coming on next week's show?
We got wide receivers part 2. Who's going to be the next James Jones? We'll just have to find out.
So yeah, we'll talk more about wide receivers. We'll kind of finish that off. We'll get into some tight ends as well. That's probably not going to be a super long talk. There's not a lot of great ones out there, but we'll talk about the ones that are fantasy relevant. And then that's what we'll do. We're getting closer and closer to the draft. We're watching preseason games and full throttle in terms of NFL. So guys, thanks for coming on here on this Wednesday night. Mikey Renaud, Todd Diamond, I'm Eric Lansing. We'll see you next time on the MHA podcast.